What it is, y'all, it is your old boy Pilk, and I'm coming back at you today with another Danmachi video. Now, today we are talking very specifically about equipment ascension, and even more specifically than that, armor ascension. Now, we've talked about weapon ascension and the kind of negligible results you kind of get from it, especially for the sheer cost of it. In fact, let's talk for a moment about the sheer cost of item ascension, because it is extremely expensive. And because of that, I was really glad that we got the Valis quest back. Now, if you haven't been running your Valis quest, you have been messing up. This is so necessary right now. Like, I was sitting on 23 or so million Valis last week, and when I started doing some Ascension, I wiped it all out. Like, it was just gone. And I don't even have that much, equipment to ascend things. Like, there's a limited amount of it. So, you need some Valis. This is going to get pricey quick. Very quick. So, not only are the items really hard to come by, but the Valis cost itself is insane. So this is something that's going to be... I did predict in the last war game that this would become kind of a running meta for this war game, and I still maintain it probably will be. I would imagine in the very near future, maybe if not this war game, definitely within the next couple of war games, you probably will not be able to make King 1 without some ascended weapons or some ascended armors. So let's talk about the armor ascension real quick and the differences that we can have here. Now, I have this breastplate that is almost fully ascended. It's level 80. Actually, I take it back. I think that is the max ascension on this. I'd have to go back over here, but I'm pretty sure that level 80 is max ascension for an armor. I think level 90 is as high as... Oh no, I can still level up to level 90. So this isn't even fully ascended. And if I was to try to go in here and ascend this, you see it's 1,000,000 Valis. 1,000,000 Valis to ascend it. And if I go in here, it's 16 of these rocks. Now, I've got 72 of them. I'm doing pretty decent. But I'm going to be real. I'm not fully prepared to go too crazy on this. What I'm probably going to do more than that, if I go into armor here... First things first, the main thing people have been asking me, is which armor am I going to choose to upgrade, okay? Now, first things first, we can just get rid of all the ornaments. You don't want to ascend your ornaments. Not yet, at least. Not until we get a little bit deeper into it. How often do you use ornaments? Record Buster, and, and then some. Now, the exception would be if you're one of those people that's a little preemptive on that, and you use... Let's say a stun anklet on, I don't know, whoever. If you use the stun anklet on the regular in Wargame, it might not be the worst idea, but I don't think you're going to get the most out of this. My opinion. If you differentiate, definitely let me know in the comments section. It is definitely worth having the conversation, but I don't think the anklets are a good choice. Okay, let's talk about robes, okay? Because robes actually were a thing in the last set. We had to create wind coats, basically, and if you did test with wind coats actually were the best thing to take on Finn. It seems like we took a lot less damage with wind coats, probably because when you go in there, and the attributes are wind resistance 20%, yeah, they're gonna turn out to be some of the best things you can get against a wind unit. Now, worth noting here, if you're wondering what Ascension does, each level of Ascension is very, very clearly mapped out here. Level 2 Ascension gives you a counter rate minus 10%. In other words, when you attack, they're 10% less likely to counter you. That's awesome! Absolutely awesome. Level 4 is critical rate when attacked is down 10%. Units are a lot less likely to crit you. And penetration rate is down 10% on the 6th hop. So, if you want my honest opinion here, when we're going into Wargame, if you want a great strategy, see how many units you can take up to Ascension slot 2. So that'll be a little on the pricey side, I'm not going to lie. It is going to be a little on the pricey side to do that. But, if I'm chilling on 5 million Valis, I think I'll be able to pull it off. That counter rate debuff is going to be so unbelievably clutch. Because remember, there's a lot of countering that happens in Wargame, especially on buffed units. You know, in the last video we were having a discussion as to, is it really worthwhile, you know, using the new bell to take the wind out of Otaro's sails, considering Otaro's main hit is a big buffed hit. No matter how you do it, he's going to get that 50% skill and attack damage buff. You know, it's just the way he goes. But this will take the wind out of his counters. At least then at that point, he won't be countering used much. And if you're using that bell, even if he does counter, then he's obviously going to have that. He's going to be lacking the strength and type buff. But even here, you can actually prevent those counters from even coming through, or at least a certain percentage of them. You have a 10% less likelihood of getting countered, and counters are what really kill it in Wargame, especially when you hit that King 1 wall. If you've ever noticed, if you slow it down, take it out of double mode and take it down to single speed mode, and you watch, counter rate can make or break a fight. So taking the wind out of somebody's sails could be a big clue. I'm going to guess, maybe not this Wargame, but definitely by the next Wargame, if you do not have Equipment Ascension at least at Step 2, you're not making King 1. I'm calling it now. It might even be this Wargame, but I don't think so. I think it's still going to be another Wargame or so before we see that. But I'm going to predict right now that's going to be really, really important. But more to the point, if you guys want to put some coats on, you might... so there's going to be interesting metas here. Otaro's still going to be a big factor. I feel like the new Bell is going to be a slight factor, but not as much. The new Finn is definitely going to be a factor. So if you want to maybe protect yourself against that, you could definitely grab a few coats and, you know, take, no pun intended, considering it's the wind coat, but take some of the wind out of their sails. Once again, 20% reduction on wind damage is going to be huge, absolutely huge when it comes to going up against those teams. But the thing is we won't know until we get in there and what the actual meta is of this war game. We could, you know, kind of put, you know, our finger on it a little bit. I really think Otaro's going to be badass, and I think the new Finn is going to be a big feature of it too. But we just don't know yet. We'll find out here shortly, though. We'll probably know within the next 24, 48 hours. That said, I really don't think coats are your best bet. Coats are very, very specific, and they're kind of targeting a very specific event. I do like the fact that they've kind of made Finn, or used Finn to make the coats relevant again, because I hadn't used a coat basically since day one of this game, and now using him is kind of a thing. But outside of Record Buster, and we're really mostly talking about Wargame here if I'm honest, outside of Record Buster you're probably not going to use these. Just entirely honest. Remember, counter rate isn't a thing. Like, if we go in here and we talk about the specific attributes, counter rate is not a worry when it comes to Record Buster. They don't counter you. Critical rate, not so much. Penetration rate, sure, maybe a little. But really when it comes to armors and Ascension in Record Buster and the rest of the game for the most part, most of the rest of the game you're really talking mostly about reduce it, like the levels of your weapon or your armors are probably going to do a lot more than the very simple attributes we're getting here. Most of these attributes are going to really pertain to Wargame more than anything else. Wargame and Familia Wargame, obviously, but I'm going to cup all Wargames in basically the same kind of, you know, group here. So wind coats, any kind of coat, not the right choice. Robes are not the right choice. Anklets, I don't think are a very good choice, but I would still choose anklets over coats. What I would choose more than anything else, let's go over here and go to mail. We have a couple different types of mail, okay? We've got breastplates. That gives us, generically, guard rate of 15% if you get that attribute. If you don't, reroll till you get what you need. Or rehammer, I guess, till you get what you need. You want a guard rate 15 above all else. Agility 30, it can give you dex 30, it can give you endurance 30, and it can give you strength or actually it's, what is it, strength and 10%. I have to go look at what they actually do. Ascension is exactly the same thing on all these items. See right here, I've got counter rate 10. That's what I'm going after for all of my breastplates going forward into this. So we've got breastplate, we've got swift armor. In fact, let's go to crafting, and let's take a look specifically at this, because I really feel like the mail is really what you're going to be after, okay? I don't think Glorious Armor is a good choice. Glorious Armor isn't bad, but the Glorious Armor only does one thing, and it's kind of a crapshoot as to how good it's going to be. It'll add 500 health, and if you've got the Glorious Weapon or the Behemoth weapons, it'll add another 500 health. 1,000 health isn't bad, but I can tell you from personal experience, it is not enough to make or break a wargame. In a wargame, you probably are more going to want some of these other attributes. We'll talk about Paladin armor real quick, okay? So Paladin armor, you can have up to 3 attributes. Endurance 20, Endurance 10, Agility 30, Dex 30, or Magic Resist plus 8. Now, I think magic is a growing meta in Wargame. I think it's not a bad thing to protect your units against, but the vast majority of people in Wargames still use physical units. It's just always been the meta, and I think for the foreseeable future will be the meta because it's the vast majority of units out there. Most units are physical units. If you're like me and you're planning against that, you do throw some magic into the mix. We'll get to that in a moment. But that's Paladin armor, and I don't think Paladin armor is a very good choice, especially for Wargame. Swift armor. Endurance 20, Endurance 10, Endurance or Agility 30, Dex 30, and Physical Resist 8%. Now, this is a really solid choice, and I actually used a few of these in the last Wargame, and they're really, really, really good. But if you come up against an all-magic team, your team will fall completely apart. Completely apart. They will embarrass you. So for my money, Swift Armors aren't a terrible choice. They're gonna handle most situations, but when you come up against that rare team that is an all-magic team, you're gonna hate life. You are absolutely gonna hate life. Because of that, I think Breastplate is kind of my choice. And I was asking some other people on stream, and I think everyone kind of agrees. Okay? So with a breastplate, you can get Endurance 20, Endurance 10, Agility 30, Dex 30, and Guard Rate 15. Okay? I might have said it's Strength earlier. I apologize. I was thinking of weapons. Anyway. So, what do you want with attributes? Well, the best thing to do with attributes is just to get the 3 attributes that you want the most. For me, I think these are kind of the best. Now, Endurance isn't bad, but Dex is going to give you more countering. Agility is going to get your attacks off sooner. And Guard Rate, well, you always, always, always want the Guard Rate on a breastplate. If you craft a breastplate and you don't get Guard Rate 15, either rehammer it, or if you can't afford to rehammer it, craft another one. If nothing else, you need that Guard Rate 15. That is absolutely paramount. Now, for me, my perfect build is Agility 30, Dex 30, and Guard Rate 15. That's what I would prefer to have. If you can get a build like this, then I would definitely say go in here and go ahead and get your counter rate plus 10. That is going to be, for Wargame at least, your best possible situation. Now, we're not quite at the point in the game where I think we need the Weapon Ascension for many of the other... For much of it else in the game, I don't think Weapon Ascension, or Armor Ascension, the Equipment Ascension, is really necessary in the armor for much of anything else here. Wargame is really where this is going to have its most benefit right now. They could add a really hard-hitting unit later on in the game. In fact, I would argue that Finn actually might be that unit because Finn does buff himself 150%. It was 140, 150, I don't remember. He buffs himself to the damn moon. If you do not have someone who removes his buff, you're dead. You're not making it. So there's a possibility that this actually could be the beginning of something very special with Finn, where maybe Ascended armors will really come in clutch with him. But for now, I really think from an armor perspective, Ascension is really mostly around Wargame and Familia Wargame. And if you want my honest opinion, breastplates, get the best possible thing you can out of him, and then ascend him here. Counter rate 10 is the best thing you can do. Get as many of those as you can. Get 6 of those bad boys if you can possibly muster it, and then go to town on Ascension. Let me see if I have any that we can actually ascend real quick. So we'll go ahead and filter this down only to males. I have a glorious armor there, not worth. Swift armor, I've already talked about that. I don't want to do that. So this only has agility 30. That to me is an instant no thank you. This is a guard rate 15. Not my preference by a long shot, but it is a thing. The other thing to consider here, guys, is the actual, not the attributes, but the status. So this has a guard rate of 221. Top guard rate, I don't recall, 231 I think is top guard rate, because that glorious armor is top guard rate. Top guard rate is 231, and will only do nothing but go higher as you're ascending that weapon. So if you do not have the top guard rate, you can rehammer for that very easily. It's a lot easier to rehammer for a guard rate than it actually, or sorry, not a guard rate, but a defensive rate, I guess, for lack of a better word. It's a lot easier to rehammer for a defense than it is to rehammer for an attribute. Attributes are really, really, really finicky and 100% RNG. Guard rates, or guard rate. I keep calling it guard rate. Defensive rate, that number right there, that is RNG, but once you land it, you can't like rehammer it again. It's solidified. So that's not a bad choice. So let's see what breastplates we have. So this has agility and dex 30. I wonder if we can do a rehammer here real quick. So status. So case in point, this breastplate right here has a defensive 268. So 271 is top. I'm not going to lose sleep over that. That's 3 points. That's not worth... Right now, that's not worth fighting for. I could probably go in and fight for that later, but I'm not going to lose sleep over that. Because I bet you its attributes are off the chain. Yeah. Endurance 20, Dex 20, and Guard Rate 15. I'd prefer that Endurance 20 to be an Agility 30, but you know what? Those are great attributes. This is worth walking away from for now. Let's go ahead and do this by mail. And let's grab this breastplate. That's Agility 30. This is Guard Rate 15. So if I go to rehammer this, that's 224. That's pretty low. Let's go ahead and see if we can... Oh, look at that. Perfect. Once you see rainbow on this page, you can pretty much say, all right, cool. I just maxed out its stats. Now, it's actually going to be worthwhile to go in here and see if I can rehammer those attributes. So this is the one. Yeah, Guard Rate 15. Cost me 3 bellows. I've got 21. Let's just see if we can get something real quick. Now, if you see a rainbow in here, you're guaranteed 3 stats. It doesn't guarantee you which 3 stats it is, but it does guarantee you 3 stats. So for my money, if I'm in here and I'll do a couple more, I'm really going to have to farm up some more bellows for real. Come on, baby. Go rainbow. It's not going to. Agility 30. Let's try one more. Come on, Cletus. Let's go rate 15 again. So, yeah, I'm a glutton for punishment. Nah, not going to happen. Alright, so it's not even going to give us double stats. So at that point, I know to just walk away from this one. I could go craft one, but since that one's top stats, it is kind of my #1 target. So at this point, what I'd want to do is I'd want to go get more bellows and keep working on it. But since it's top stats, it's not a bad option to then go in there and start messing around with it and see if we can get some attributes. It also isn't a bad option to go in here and craft some, though it is a slightly more expensive option. I don't remember what the cost difference is. Is there a cost difference to rehammer? Rehammering doesn't cost anything. It's literally just the bellows. So you could go up here if you've got, Valus to spare and go in here and you can craft. Let's just craft a breastplate real quick. It's not going to hurt anything. Craft a breastplate. Let's see if we get anything. Now, the only downside is if you get rainbow here, you just don't know whether it's max stats or whether you get 3 attributes. Okay, actually, that's really good. That's spectacular. No, let's go ahead and see if we could rehammer that one. We don't want attributes, we want status. So that's 2 attributes, and that's actually very, very nice. So if I go down here to just 4 stars. All right. 94. There we are. Yeah, that's the one we just made. So AGL 30 and guard rate 15 are very good. I'm 1 stat away from getting what I want, but hey, you know what? It's a thing. So we're at 94, 111 is tops. Let's just see if we get lucky here. You know what? 108. I'll take that. So now I can then go in and upgrade that and go crazy. But in the end, the long and the short of it is, the reason that we went so deep on this is because I really feel like the breastplate, for everything you get, the breastplate really is your best option. The guard rate 15 is going to be very, very important. Guard rate 15 is going to be important, and it's going to protect you against both magic and both physical, though either one of those, even though they're a smaller stat, they're going to be overall better for whatever that stat is. Like the magic, the paladin armor is going to work better for magic. Swift armor is going to work better for physical, but the breastplate is just a more well-rounded item. So my opinion is on that one, go ham, get yourself 6 breastplates, get them upgraded, get them with the attributes you like, and ascend them twice. That is going to be super duper clutch when it comes to this upcoming wargame. You'll have a few days to make it happen, but don't be surprised if you have a very difficult time in King 1, even maintaining King 1, without some of this. Remember, cutting down their counter rate cuts down how many times you get hit. That's life. Literally, that is your life dissipating, not reducing that counter rate. So now you have some strategy. Go for it. Let me know if this was helpful in the comments section down below. Like, comment, share, and I will catch you guys in the next one.